Hey everybody, it's Mom of Two, Wife of One, and welcome back to my channel. As you can see from the title, we are here to talk about Married at First Sight, Season 13, Episode 16. Now, this is the episode where they are less than a week away from Decision Day, so all of the individuals meet with their friends or with their family to get last minute advice before they make this huge decision that's going to impact the rest of their lives. I will say that I feel like everybody is tired and not everybody meaning the couples but meaning the people who are watching. We're tired of these couples. We're ready for it to be over. We're ready to see the results. We're ready to kind of move on with our lives before this starts up all over in the next few weeks with season 14, because that's just what Married at First Sight does. But one thing I will say is that once again, they all got together to play pool and to discuss, well, how do you feel? What do you think, you learned from this? And it's like, I get it, but it's so infuriating. Every single episode, all of you have to be together, even 3 days before decision day. Why? Por qué? They act like they're never going to see each other ever again in life. It's like, did you forget that you all live in this city? You all live in Houston? Like, did you forget that? You all have each other's phone numbers. You can all visit each other when the show is over. Like, I just don't understand why you have to get together all the time. It's just really bothersome. But I want to talk first about, ooh, Rachel and Jose. So Rachel loves Jose. Jose loves Rachel. Rachel can see how Jose has changed, but she's still a little concerned that the next time they have a big argument, he won't be verbally abusive like he was the last time, or that he will be verbally abusive like he was last time. So she's a little concerned about that. She's concerned about the fact that he doesn't listen, even though he's trying to be better. He's concerned. I thought he had valid concerns. He's like, he is concerned about their communication as well. So while her complaint is that he doesn't listen, his complaint is the next time we have an argument, your first reaction won't be, okay, well, I want out of this marriage, I want to leave. Because that's been her reaction in past relationships, that she just kind of up and leaves when, not when the mood suits her, but I guess when things are a little rocky. But obviously it's a lot easier to leave a boyfriend than it is a husband. And I think in that moment when she did say, I don't want to be in this marriage, it was after being verbally abused. It was after being locked out of the house. So it's not like she was so, I don't know. I felt like him having that concern on one hand is valid, but in the heat of when she said it, it was at a time where, again, she had just been abused and been locked out of her home. So I felt like that was a natural reaction for her. But also after she said it, she stopped herself and was like, you know what, Rachel, no, this is something you do all the time. And she came back and she spoke to him. So I don't know if that's really as much of a concern as he thinks it is, but I kind of get it. Maybe just a little bit, just a smidge, just a little tiny bit. And the whole travel thing, I mean, that's just annoying. So she wants to go to Thailand, she wants to go to Switzerland, and he's like, oh, well, okay, but what about going to San Jose? And what about going to Vegas? Like, that's going to be amazing. And I hate that he keeps saying, he's made this comment before in a past episode, that people who have these visions of traveling all over the world, it's like they're still tapping into their single life. And I like that Rachel was like, well, no, I'm not tapping to my single life. I've always traveled and always like doing those things. But now the great part is that I'm married and I can travel with my husband. That's what I want to do. Not continue to act like I'm quote unquote single, but I want to do these things with you. I want to have these experiences with you. And I thought that she was being clear, and also thought she was being fair. She said, let's just take one big trip every other year. So we're taking a year to save for that trip to Switzerland, to save for that trip to Thailand. I'm not saying do this every year. I'm not saying every month. I'm saying every other year. So if we save and we play, we work hard, why can't we play hard and do a trip like that? And I thought that was more than fair. I thought it was really good compromise. And so I hate that he's still just kind of talking down about it, like, nah, because we got this to do, and that doesn't make any sense. So I understand her being frustrated. However, it could be a bigger thing. He's making it seem like it's finances, but maybe he's afraid to fly that long. Maybe he's afraid to go to other countries. Maybe he has no desire to go to other countries. And if that's the case, why can't you go with your girlfriends? That don't have to be you, acting like a single person. That could be you going on the domestic local trips with him because that's what he wants. But then when it comes time to do your international trip, who says you can't go just because he doesn't want to go? If you save your money so that you can go in a couple years and your girlfriends do the same, why can't all of that just go for a girlfriend's trip? You don't have to be single to go on a girlfriend trip. Plenty of married people still go on trips with their girlfriends. Like, you have friends, and you had these friends before you got married. If the marriage don't work out, you still have these friends. So I didn't understand why that was an issue and why she couldn't have just said that. So I think if they decide to get a divorce and it's over something like that, I think it's kind of a dumb reason. It doesn't make much sense to me. But they didn't really do much. They had a little date. Her dress I thought was really, really cute. But nothing really happened with them. You know, like I said, this was the episode where they all talked to their friends about things. And one thing her friend said, Rachel's friend, was a woman after my own heart. Rachel mentioned how a lot of the issues she has with Jose, he understands and he's trying to work on them. So he wrote down a little note cards that are posted on the refrigerator, about, I'm not going to lock my wife out of the house. I'm going to listen better. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I love that the friend said, what did she say? The friend said, you don't need cards to remember not to lock your wife out. I was like, you better say that, sis. Say that, sis. So her friend was basically like, don't let him walk all over you. I know you love this man. I know that he's changing and that's great. But don't let him get to that place again where he's talking down to you and he's cursing you out. You don't deserve that. So you better stand up for yourself and call him out on his ish. So I liked how cut and dry she was. She wasn't necessarily bashing Jose. She was just saying that I know sometimes you can let your feelings cloud your judgment, Rachel. So I want you to have a clear head when going into decision day and understand and let him understand that if this happens again, that doesn't mean you have to leave him necessarily, but call him on his stuff. Let him know, okay, no, you won't talk to me this way. You will not treat me this way. This is not going to stand in my house, and go from there. So the friends, every season, most of the friends are like the MVPs because they say the truth stuff that these people really need to hear. So I really liked Rachel's friend. And okay, so that's pretty much all that happened with them. Like, nothing terribly exciting. When they got together, my note was everyone met up. Why? They're 3 days before decision day. Why can't you all take a break from each other? Especially because in the past few seasons, after decision day and everyone's decided if we're going to stay together or not, they all get up together anyway so they can figure out who stayed together and who got a divorce. So you're already going to see each other in 3 days. So why do you need to get up again just to play pool and have wine and pizza? It's like, what? Why? It's so annoying to me how often, and I feel like no other season have they gotten together this much. This has been record breaking. It's like, what are y'all doing? I don't really get it, but what the heck do I know? But okay, so that was Rachel and Jose. And I guess we'll go to Mirola and Gail. This was the first time for me that I've really heard Mirola talk about, not fears, that's probably not the right word, but talk about some misgivings that she has about the relationship and about Gail. We've heard Gail a lot talk about how, you know, her spending habits with her money, and she likes this and I'm not a fan of that, and she complains all the time and that brings me down. We've heard a lot of him kind of expressing that, but not really her. She is mainly like, okay, you know, I hear him, I know I can be negative and I'm going to try to work on it. But she hasn't really said, well, I don't really like when Gil does this. It's been more like, this is more than I ever thought I would get. I'm really happy with him. He's so patient with me. I really needed that. I know I'm a lot. And this is the first episode where I felt like she was very open and honest about some things that are concerning to her. And they talked about finances, but his main thing when it comes to finances is the fact that she spends so much money on shopping. Her thing that she mentioned today was that she wanted someone who was very well established in their career, and he just started being a firefighter. And firefighters don't make a terrible amount of money. And her thing is, okay, you know, that's fair. You don't make a lot of money. However, they look at money very differently, right? They view money in a very different way. She's motivated in her career and works hard and all that stuff. And her motivation is to make this money so that she's never back where she started, so that she's never back to that person of not having money and always being in want. So that's why she works as hard as she does. I do think that sometimes when he makes comments about, you know, I think you've forgotten who you are and you've forgotten the person, you know, that didn't have much. And she's like, no, that's my motivation. I can never forget who that person was. I don't think it's fair of him to continuously put that on her. Because it's like, I guess in his mind, if you started off poor, you should remember how poor you were and be grateful for the things you have, I guess. And it's like she is grateful. That's why she continues to work hard, because she's afraid of going back to that place. So there's no way she can forget that. That's what motivates her every single day to go after what she needs to do and to work as hard as she does. So I feel like that's just an unfair statement that he made of her. And I didn't really understand, because he said that last week too. I was like, I don't think that's fair for you to say that. And then he talked to his mom about how he and Mirola grew up in the same kind of environment where the father took care of the bills. And their situation would be a little more difficult because she makes almost twice as much as he does. And he admitted to his mom, if I pay all the bills, I won't have anything left. And money doesn't motivate me. And this and this and this. And she wants to find things in life and blah, 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 blah. So I think some of that is maybe a little bit of embarrassment that he can't necessarily pay for everything and be comfortable. I think that he's not willing to admit that part. And obviously, that's not Mirla's problem. And one thing I feel like we have not seen, at least on camera, even though she makes that much money, we have not seen her talk down to him, bash him, make him feel like less of a quote unquote man just because she makes more money. We haven't seen her do that. So I'm going to assume it has not happened. I feel like if it's happened, like he would have mentioned something in his confessional or something. So she's not doing any of that. I feel like she would be amenable to changing the rules in the household that she shares with him. Yes, she was used to her father taking care of everything, and so was he. But obviously, knowing where your finances stay right now, where they stand right now, I'm sure that she'd be okay changing the rules a little bit. Because while there are some concrete things that most marriages have, for the most part, your marriage is supposed to be what's comfortable for you. And that could be what's comfortable for you when it comes to finances, when it comes to living arrangements, when it comes to divvying up the chores. Everybody has their own way of doing things because every marriage is different, because every person is different. So I think that she would be amenable to doing things a little different and outside of the box to make the situation comfortable for her and Gil. And I feel like sometimes when he makes statements like that, he's not really giving her credit. But I think he says those statements also because she said in the very beginning that there are certain things she does not want to give up. One of them is shopping. Now, we've seen her look at stuff on her phone, like a purse or some shoes. We haven't seen her go shopping. We haven't seen boxes coming to the house. So I don't really know how much shopping she actually does. Because even though it's being said a lot, we haven't really physically seen evidence of that at all. We see that she has nice stuff, but we haven't seen her actually like carrying boxes in and looking at price tags. Like, we haven't seen any of that exaggerated footage. So I don't really know how much she does. And I don't know. I don't think it's fair. The whole shopping thing was an issue in the beginning when she said, I don't want to stop this and I'm going to keep doing what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. It's an issue in the beginning before we got to really know him and got to really know her, because they painted it as this person is a shopaholic. This is all she cares about. Like, she doesn't take care of her money and like she doesn't save her money at all. But then once we learn that, oh, wait a minute, Mirola is good with her money and she saves a significant amount of money compared to him who has no savings. So she has this money that she saves that she probably doesn't touch, but then she also has this money that she chooses to shop with. So now that we understand her finances a little bit better, I don't think it's fair to continuously point that out and make it seem like she's a bad person because she wants to do that. So I still like Gil, but I think part of his complaint, I think a little bit of it is a little bit of machismo, just a tiny bit. And he's not a bad person, but it's like, I don't know, Gil. I don't know if this is the right. I don't know if this is the right thing to be argumentative about, you know? And I don't think that's enough for you to just not be with her anymore. I don't know. I don't think so, personally. But I still like them. And, also, he talks about how hard he worked. And he said, I worked hard for what I have. And I put, she works just as hard as he does to be where she is. And I don't think it's fair to say that she lost touch of the person that she was, which I mentioned before. And again, I wrote, does he feel insecure about her making so much money? And we haven't seen on camera her making him feel small about what he's able to bring to the table. And we haven't. But again, some things may happen behind closed doors that maybe we're just not privy to. Who knows? But I don't think that's what it is at all. And then I thought it was interesting that all of the couples talked to their friend on the phone or in person, except for Gil. Gil talked to his mom on the phone, but when they were all had the montage of them talk to their friends, he talked to Zach. And it was mainly about I don't know, I thought that was weird. Like, why are you and Zach talking? Why isn't Zach talking to one of his brothers or one of his friends? Why isn't Gil talking to one of his friends? And Zach, well, okay, we'll get to them. Actually, we'll talk about Zach and Michaela now. They are confusing. They are very confusing. She talked to her sister, and the sister, I like that the sister wasn't all the way on Michaela's side or all the way on Zach's side. She was just like, I think they both need to do some soul searching. They both need to figure out exactly what they want, right? And I think that's fair. But I don't really know about Zach and Michaela. Like, I really don't. I felt we didn't get them together this episode. Honestly, we didn't get just the two of them together. Like, some of the other couples, they had like a date where they just kind of discussed things one on one, or they had some kind of meeting where they discussed things. We never got that with Zach and Michaela this episode. And I think it's also very interesting that Zach and Michaela both reference conversations that they've had off camera. And those conversations they have off camera are the ones where they actually are listening to each other. They're really seeing who the other person is. And I was going to say, I mean, I guess I get it. The camera's going to be a little intimidating, and maybe you don't, I don't know. I don't really understand. You signed up to be on this reality show. So why would you wait to have some of these groundbreaking conversations? Why would you wait until the cameras are off to do that? Why is there less pressure when the cameras are off? You know, I think maybe that's part of it. Like, I don't know. And obviously, I've never been on a reality show. I've never had cameras in my face 23 hours a day. I don't know that pressure at all, thankfully. But it seems like their conversations where they're actually listening and vibing and realizing how much they really like each other. All these conversations happen when the cameras are not rolling. But because we don't see that, all we can judge is what we do see. And what we see is dysfunction. Like, that's it. And one thing Zach keeps saying is, you know, I can see that Michaela's trying. She's owning up to what she did. And she's an amazing person and blah, 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 blah. All that may be true. But what I'm not hearing from him is him acknowledging that, and I want to phrase this carefully, because I don't want to make it seem like if he didn't do certain things, that basically he's making Michaela this way. Like, I don't want to say he's making Michaela this way, because obviously we know about the whole Hurricane K that her sisters talked about on her wedding day. So we know she has a problem with having a temper. That's already been in existence. That has nothing to do with Zach. That's already been there. But my thing is, yes, he's holding her accountable. And he said, I think he mentioned to Gil that no ex has really held her accountable before. And maybe that's what she needs, is someone to kind of call her on her ish, which is good. Okay, yes, she needs that. However, Zach as a person needs to also understand the problem when it comes to playing games. And what I mean by that is, yes, Michaela has a temper, but she's also very sensitive. She also has a heart. And one thing that you know that's come out of her mouth and Pastor Cal's mouth and even Dr. Pepper's mouth, you've heard that she is still reeling from her father's passing. And she has the thing with men walking away, right? So you know that she has these abandonment issues, and it brings up all these emotions and makes her frantic, upset, whatever. We know this. He should also know that all the times when Michaela has had some kind of spastic reaction where she's bumping into things or she's yelling or she's being irrational or whatever, or cursing him out or whatever the case may be, it's after he has left, threatened to leave, whatever. All of that is correlated with that. So did she handle the situations in the right way? Absolutely not. She needs to be held accountable for that completely. Howsoever, before it got to that point, him even threatening to leave, threatening to go back to his home, or saying, well, I'm just going to leave then. He's doing that because he wants her to beg him to stay. And he said that before, like, well, she just told me she wanted me to stay. Like, I would have stayed. It's like, why would you think she wants you to leave? Now, the last time was something different in the barn. That was a whole different situation that just made no sense. Like, that was some other stuff. But there have been other times where he has made that threat or made that promise or whatever, and that's when she spazzed out. So it's like, if you look back at those situations, You look back at the conversations that you've had with her and with Pastor Cal and with Dr. Pepper. You know that that's a thing for her. Why do you keep saying, I'm going to leave? Take ownership in your part in some of this. Because, yes, her reactions have been through the roof and have made no sense and they're ridiculous. However, you're not completely innocent at all in the situation either. And I don't know, I haven't heard from his mouth that he's acknowledged that and that he understands that he needs to have a different approach, per se, when it comes to that. I just haven't heard him say that. So without having heard him say that, I don't know what he's doing to, I don't say what he's doing to prevent that from happening again, but I don't know. I feel like even if she gets her stuff together in terms of anger management and just handling situations in a different way, if he continues to do that and playing games, she may not have a violent reaction to it, but that doesn't mean she's going to have a good reaction to it. And that doesn't mean she's going to stay on for that much longer either. So I personally don't think they need to stay together. I like them physically as a couple. I think they look great. But it's like, it's just, I don't think it works for me. But yeah, I did say because the conversations happen off camera, there's a lot that we just don't know about. There's a lot of stuff we don't know about either one of them because they've chosen. I'm assuming they've made the conscious decision to have some of these big decisions off camera. So there's a lot that we're never going to know. All we can judge is what we see. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It wasn't a lot for them because, again, they didn't have that date or that one-on-one conversation on camera that everybody else has. So we didn't really get to see the two of them talk one-on-one a couple of days before decision day because we weren't there. Ryan and Brett. Ryan is not a bad person, but Brett summed it up perfectly. She said, I came into this wanting to be married. No matter who I was matched up with, I would have done the exact same thing. I still would have tried my best. I still would have been honest. I still would have talked to that person. I still would have gone on dates. I still would have done this and this and this. Nothing I've done with Ryan would have changed no matter who they paired me with because I knew that whoever I'm paired with, this is my husband. I'm going to put in the work and I'm going to see what happens. And she said to her friend on the phone, she's like, Brett, that Brian, what's his man name? Ryan? There we go. She said Ryan did not do that. He kind of saw what he got and I was like, oh, that's not what I ordered. And I love the friend was like, well, he's not what you ordered either. I was like, that is a diehard friend. That's what your friend's supposed to say. Your friend got your back. She's like, girl, I know that you know, however he feels about you, the way you look or whatever, but I know that's not your type. So I know you weren't attracted to him from the get-go either. And Brett was like, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I was like, that's the kind of friend I am. But like, girl, let it be known that, you know, you ain't really asked for this brother either. But so a couple things. I mean, the whole situation with the dating app was just a really weird thing. It was disrespectful. It was cowardly. And Ryan understands that. I guess he understands that. I feel like he's still making excuses. He met up with his friend and they were playing tennis and he's telling him, you know, there were some positive things there, but you know, it's hard to believe I got to start all over and blah, 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 blah. But one thing he said to his friend I thought was interesting. He said that in all of his past relationships, he can pinpoint the moment where it started not working, and most of the time it was on him. So if you know what you're doing to make a relationship go south, then why haven't you altered that thing or gotten to that thing quicker to make the relationship work for you in the past? I guess I'm just confused as to what he does with relationships then. Like, once it ends or once he notices it's ending, he just kind of lets it go and he doesn't fight for it. Like, I didn't really understand that. Like, it seems like if most people don't pinpoint the exact moment when something is going sour. So if you're able to do that, then why aren't you doing everything in your power to revive that relationship? I didn't really understand that at all. And his friend said that, you know, Ryan, that we've all been saying, Ryan has a problem with communicating and he needs someone to call him on his BS. But he got that and he still didn't know what to do with it. So yes, Ryan needs this, but Ryan doesn't know how to handle that. So that's a deeper problem for him that he needs therapy about. Because if you know that about yourself, enough people have told you that, then like, I don't understand. You know this is what you need, but I think you do need therapy to receive the things that you need. And he hasn't gotten therapy, so he's not there yet. So it's like, okay, well, you can't fault the experts at all in this situation. They gave Ryan exactly what he needed and kind of gave Brett what she needed too. She needed someone to kind of break her out of her comfort zone. Ryan is very different from what she would normally like, and he's into things that she's not into either. And so I understand why they were paired together. But while Ryan worked with it and worked with the differences and said, okay, this is taking me out of my comfort zone, this is good for me, Brett did that. I'm getting confused now. Brett went along with it. Ryan was just like, I don't know what to do with this. So, and then also apparently after they had their last discussion, he came back to the apartment after she left and he moved the stuff out, which she didn't know he was going to do. So when we first see her, she's packing the boxes, packing her own stuff up. And I just thought that was so, it was just a sad sight. And then when he came to the apartment, I was like, well, why is he here? Didn't he move out already? And literally he was there because, I guess, to apologize to Brett for disrespecting her and apologize to her for just kind of the way things went down. But he ended when he left. First of all, he gave her a side hug, which is always like a friendly type thing that's not romantic at all. And even when he gave her a side hug, she didn't hug him back. She just kind of tapped his chest like, okay, and then kind of moved away because Brett is through. Brett is done with all of this. She's like, why am I still here? It's not decision day yet. Okay, let's make this quick because I'm ready to leave. But his parting words were, thank you for not hating me. And it made me think that he came over there not because he felt bad about what he did to Brett, but more that he's trying to preserve how he comes across and preserves how he is perceived by the general public. He doesn't want to seem like a douchebag. He wants to seem like a good guy. He doesn't want to seem like he didn't try, like he's ungrateful or something like that. So him saying that to her, it was like, so you didn't really apologize to her for her. You apologized to her for you. And it's like, I'm ready for them to be done. It's like, come on, bro. Like, what are you doing? Like, really, what are you doing? And are Val and Johnny the last people? I talked about Mirola and Gail. I talked about Rachel and Jose. Yep, Val and Johnny the last people. So Val and Johnny are the people where I just knew, okay, there's nothing to talk about. Like, we're done here. But Johnny talked to two of his groomsmen, and they were both, I told you, the friends are really great. The friends, what did the friends say? The friends basically said what Pastor Cal said, that Johnny has a vision of what he wanted, but because he has that vision and because Val may not fit every single check mark in that vision, that's why he's checked out. And they were like, yo, you need to kind of let that go. You need to focus on the good parts. And they basically were like, we're not telling you to stay or to leave, but what we're telling you is think very hard before you make this decision, because we want you to be rational about this decision, rational about what you do like about her and about what exactly you're expecting from this marriage. And you just need to be clear about that. I did find it interesting. I'm assuming he's talked to them, but at least on camera, he didn't mention the whole conversation with Sarah, because I would have loved to hear their reaction and would have loved to hear their take on the whole Sarah conversation. And I also put in my notes that I hate that talking to Sarah erased all the epiphanies he had from them in, I said, revisiting their childhood. Last week when they read the letters that they wrote to their younger selves and they went back and looked at childhood home to talk about childhood memories, he got so many epiphanies about his actions toward Bao and how he's like his dad, and he learned a lot about Bao and her motivations based off of how she grew up. And I felt like in that moment they got a little closer emotionally and in a very intimate way, just being vulnerable enough to talk about these things. And then the conversation with Sarah just wiped all of that out. And I feel, and I said this last week, it doesn't matter how much good stuff he hears about Bao. And even Bao said this, his friends, his family, the other grooms, like me, like all of us, the experts, like everyone is telling him that you need to try more. Bao is a good person. Bao is doing this and this and this for you. Why are you pushing her away? Why are you self-sabotaging? Everybody is telling him that. But the one person who didn't tell him that was his wife's best friend, Sarah. And all he needed was one person to be on his side. And he's like, oh, you're right. Bao is terrible. And it is messed up. You just need that one person to validate what you've always suspected, though nobody else is saying these things about Bao. It's just you. But they did go on a cute little date, I guess. I loved her dress. I loved that his jaw dropped when he saw it. She was in sequins from head to toe, honey. She had the high heels. And she was just sparkling and shining. And he was just like, Okay. Okay. And I was like, yeah, Bow, give it to her. Bow was serving it up, honey. I was all about that. But yeah, I said she looked really snazzy. And when she met with her friend was like, well, what would you do if Johnny said that he wants to make this work? If Johnny said, on decision day, I know I haven't really come through, but I'm ready to do the work and I'm going to do this and I'm ready and I want to be your husband. And Bao was like, well, I mean, honestly, if he said all that, I would be like, okay, I would go with it. I see a lot of good things there. I still see the potential. And I understand the friend asking that question, but I feel like she may be setting Bao up. I don't want Bao to get her hopes too high. Like, I really, really don't. Because I feel like Johnny is very hot and cold. And one little breeze in one direction will have him making this decision. Another soft breeze in the other direction making this decision. He's just very, not wishy-washy, but he's just, he don't know what he wants. He doesn't know what he wants. Doesn't know how to get there. Doesn't know how to articulate what the heck he wants. And he's just determined to focus on these quote-unquote red flags that he's seen from Bao. Because he even mentioned to his groomsmen, like, I feel like things kind of went downhill, on the honeymoon. And I saw these red flags I kept ignoring. And it's like, did you really see red flags? Or did this person not meet up to your full expectations of what you thought a wife should be? And you claim that as a red flag. It's like, I need Johnny to get over himself just a little bit. One thing I did say, when they had their last night before decision day, they slept in their separate bedrooms, and she was like, oh, I just have so many things to think about. And I wrote, there's no way that Bao got any amount of sleep that last night before decision day. That chick broke out her computer, broke out her spreadsheet, and wrote some notes about Johnny, about the pros and cons of him, the pros and cons of being married to him, the pros and cons of going back to single life. Like, she probably had at least 3 or 4 spreadsheets going at the same time that she had to cross-reference and color code and just kind of figure out logistically what is the best decision for her. You can't tell me anything different. I know that's what my girl did, because that's something your girl would do. So I don't know what's going to happen with them. Like, I really don't. And then when they all got together, they did talk about what they've learned from being a part of this process and just being married in general. And they talked about what it would take to make them say no or to say yes. And I thought some of the answers were interesting. There was a conversation between Bao and Zach and Michaela all about what no means on decision day. And Bao was under the impression that if you tell me yes, that doesn't mean things are going to be perfect, but that means that you see potential. That means that, okay, we're saying yes for now because we want to continue to explore this. She's like, but if we say yes now and we say no a little later on, then I'm like, you know what? Okay, we gave it a valiant effort. But if you say no on decision day, then that means that you don't want to be married, and that means the marriage is over. So for her, no is a finality kind of thing. Or for Zach, no was like, well, no, that just means no right now. And I understood what she was saying, because if you say yes to staying married, even though you may have some doubts, you're saying, let's see what this looks like off camera. Let's see what this looks like out of the, public eye. Let's just be a couple without, having this apartment that's paid for, without having cameras follow us 24/7. Like, let's see what that looks like. And then again, if you say no later, okay, well, we gave it a really good try in the real world. But saying no, in my mind, that means no. And it was interesting because Johnny said, Bao's making it very clear that a no on decision day means the end of the marriage. But I'm like, what else does that mean? Like, isn't no means no and yes means yes? So if you say no, that means yes, the marriage is over. Isn't that what that means? I thought it was just a really weird thing. And then I was like, is that a guy thing where no isn't a definite no? And for women, I feel like we hear no and we're like, all right, well, the marriage is over. But for men, at least for Johnny and Zach, it seems like no is like, okay, no for right now. No. If it's no for right now, then just say yes and it can be no later on. It was a really interesting conversation. And I understood some points, and some points I didn't really get, maybe because I'm a woman. I was like, no is final. You're saying, no, I want a divorce. I no longer want to be married to you. So that means we're going to thank the experts. I will shake your hand, good sir. Thank you for the 8 weeks. And then I'll go about my merry way, and you let me know when my lawyer can talk to your lawyer, and we can figure it out. There's no reconciliation. You've made your decision, or I've made my decision, and that's it. But again, what do I know? I've never been in this situation before. But yeah, they talked about, like I said, what they learned about themselves. And it was interesting hearing how they learned that they're more emotional than they thought, or they are more patient than they thought. They learned how to kind of stick with something and not just walk away as quickly as they used to. So I thought that was a really good reflective question. I guess I thought that was fine. But yeah, and that was pretty much it. That was the whole episode. I feel like Gil and Mirola will be okay. I think Rachel and Jose will be okay in the short term, but not in the long term. I have a feeling Zach and Michaela are going to say yes, or Zach will say yes and Michaela will say no. I think that could be a possibility. Bao and Johnny are really up in the air right now, but I really feel like Johnny is going to say no, and that Bao is, I don't know. I feel like Bao, I don't know. I really thought that I knew for certain what people were going to say, and I know that's why they throw this curveball like this, because they want to kind of keep you on your toes. I'm going to say Johnny is going to say no, and Bao is going to say yes. Brett and Ryan are both going to say no. And then, is that it? I think that's all the couples. Yeah, so those are my predictions. So we'll see what happens. I think next week is finally decision day. We've made it. It's only been 16 weeks so far. So I think we only have one more week to go, guys. But thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you guys liked the video. Share the video with other people who like the show. Comment below so we can talk about these couples and anything I may have missed. Definitely hit the notification bell. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you guys next week. Peace.